Hi, my name is Justin Showring, and today I'll be talking to you about the article from Harvard Business Review, Leading Change. So first we'll talk a little bit about the author, John Kotter. He was an electrical engineer from MIT, got his Master of Science in Management from MIT, and then went on to Harvard and got his Doctorate of Business Administration. He's written 19 books, 2 of which were New York Times bestsellers, and also co-founded a consulting firm that uses his research to lead organizations through transformational change. So throughout this article, there's 2 general takeaways, and then for transformational change and why it fails. The first one is that transformational change takes a long time to implement and complete. We're not talking about weeks or months. It's a multi-year long process, and it's hard to speed up. You really can't skip steps because that doesn't lead to optimal results. So it's hard to speed up, and it's hard to convince people that it's necessary. The second general takeaway from this is that mistakes can happen anywhere along the process. So from when you're trying to convince people to that this is necessary, all the way to the end when you're celebrating when you think you're done and you're celebrating a victory, that can lead to mistakes as well and lead to failures throughout the process. And then throughout this article, he talks about 8 common errors that people make while they're going through a transformational change and trying to lead people or an organization through that transformational change itself. And now we'll talk about those 8 failures in depth. So the first one here, establish a sense of urgency. So when you first begin this, oftentimes it's a team or a couple individuals looking at why is this transformational change necessary, and a lot of times it leads to a loss of profit, loss of revenue, your whole company's in danger because of technology shift, the market's changing. So there's a lot of reasons for that, but you need to develop that message and create that sense of urgency and get that message that, hey, this is a big deal, it's a problem if we don't address it, and you need to raise that sense of urgency. And like the information up here says, 50% of all failures occur in this first step. People don't raise that sense of urgency as high as they need to, and that's typically for 3 reasons. One is they overestimate how easy it will be to convince people to change, and they underestimate how difficult it will be to convince people to change, or they're paralyzed by indecision. They don't know if people will be upset with them, if their managers will like it, how the market will react. They don't know how they can control such a large change in their organization, so they're paralyzed by indecision. So the rule here is you need to get this sense of urgency across to 75% of your managers within your organization to really make sure that, yeah, people understand this is a problem. If we don't change it, bad things will happen if we don't change it. So 75% is kind of that magic rule of thumb. So the next one here is forming a guiding coalition. So this is talking about building your team up, and you need to get the supporters of this change. You need to have powerful people on your team, whether that's their title, their roles, their responsibilities, or just the information that they know, their expertise, who they know, their reputation that they have within the company. There's a lot of factors that go into someone's powerfulness aside from strictly their title. So you need to have all those people on your team, because if you don't build up a powerful coalition now, those people will join the opposition, and they'll make it very difficult for you to implement your change. So you need to make sure that they're on your team while you still can. So the next one here is creating a vision. So this is developing a picture for the future and spreading that message to the people that you're going to implement the change for, the followers. And you need to make sure that picture is clear. You need to be able to tell that picture and paint that picture of the future for people to easily understand. And those people will be the stakeholders of the team, whether that's shareholders, key leaders. You need to be able to communicate that issue or that vision clearly. And the author, he uses a 5-minute rule of thumb. If you can't communicate your vision within 5 minutes of starting a conversation with someone and see that passion and that that emotion in their face within 5 minutes, you're doing something wrong. You're not done with this creating a vision step. And I've heard 30-second rule, an elevator pitch, you need to be able to tell someone how quickly, or tell someone your vision that quickly and get your message across that quickly, where if you're stuck in an elevator with someone, they will understand it. And also with this vision, it's not a one-step process, it's iterative. As you go through this process, you'll develop more points that you want to build on, or new key ideas within your vision. So make sure that it's not written in stone, it's kind of a working document as you go, but you always need to be able to communicate that working document regardless of which phase you're on. So the next step here is under-communicating the vision. So oftentimes here you're not telling people about your vision correctly. So there's three patterns here. The first one is you have a good vision at once. You have a single meeting, you send out a single email or something, and you're done. You think that's it, and people will get the point. Most of the time that won't work. The second one is you go out and you talk to people and you send them emails. You use all the organization channels, all the communication channels within your organization to get your message out, but people just don't understand, and you don't see that they don't understand. The third failure mechanism here is you go out, people understand your message, people see that your leaders are going out talking to people, you're communicating well, but then your coalition, your leaders of your team are acting in completely opposite ways of what your vision says they want to change, and so people get mixed messages and don't really agree with that change. They won't change themselves if they see the leaders of this not really adopting that change themselves. So you need to walk the talk as it is, and that will be brought up later. But you need to make sure that people and your leaders really adopt that change themselves before trying to convince other people to adopt that change. So this next one is about removing obstacles. So you've established the urgency, people get it, it's a big deal. You've gone through and you've established a team, powerful individuals on your side. You've come up with a vision for this change, and you've communicated that now across the organization. And now you need to make sure people can act upon that vision, act upon that change, and start implementing that change. But first, you need, as part of that coalition, you need to remove all obstacles. And the first part of that is to recognize what those obstacles are. Then you need to remove them, and then or confront them. You need to talk to whether it's a person, whether it's a functional breakdown, whether it's a process. You need to make sure that people are confronted, and those processes are confronted, and then you need to remove those obstacles from the person's way. So either whether that's their job title, their description only lets them have power over so much. If that's a compensation system that's making them choose between your vision, your change, and your vision, your change, and their paycheck, that's they're going to choose their paycheck. So you need to make sure people are able to choose and implement your change. Next, we need to create those short-term wins. So you need to make sure that within a year or two of starting your change that you can claim victory over something and show improvement, show some results, and you don't leave that for chance. You don't leave that for people to discount and say, well, it was because this market changed, or your customer did something, or your competitor did something bad. No, you need to say, we implemented this, we did this, and we can take credit for it because of this. So if you're a manufacturing organization, you come up within the first year or two of a new product, you're able to implement that new product and get that off the line and show this is what we're able to produce, and connect those dots directly. And this helps, the short-term wins helps maintain that sense of urgency you initially establish. If you in the beginning only establish a sense of urgency and then you let it go for 2 years, oftentimes that will drop off the table, and you need to recognize that the short-term wins will help keep that level of urgency high. So the next step here is you can't declare victory too soon. So you generate those short-term wins. That's not the final end-all be-all solution. You need to make sure that the culture is completely changed within your organization before you completely call it quits and think that it's time to move on. And oftentimes this is both of the resistors and the coalition will say that they recognize this as a victory and they want to celebrate it, but it's not quite time yet. Use those short-term victories to tackle larger and larger issues until you've completely gone through your organization and changed everything you want, you need to leverage these short-term victories and use them to your advantage. The next year is institutionalizing new approaches. So you need to show people the evidence, connect the dots, and say that because we did this, because we generated all these short-term wins, it led to these higher sales results. It led to these positive results. You need to connect the dots for them. Don't let them draw their own conclusions. And you also need to have successful succession planning. Whoever replaces you needs to adopt these changes and believe in these changes just as much as you did. Otherwise, they'll easily be able to undo everything you've done. So, yeah, this seems pretty simple. 8 simple bullet points, 2 general lessons. It seems easy to make a transformational change, but the author realizes it's oversimplified. You're always going to have new things pop up. You're always going to have new failure modes crop up while you're going through this. So you need to recognize that and plan for that. But all I ask of you guys is to go out and while you're leading or while you're going through a transformational change, keep an eye out for these 8 common modes of failures. If you can reduce 75-80% of the chance that you're going to fail, that's huge. And if you can keep and maintain your recognition for these modes of failures, that will make your job of leading a transformational change much easier. Thank you.